of amazing people. God bless Australia.
Josh Frydenberg, good morning and welcome.
Nice to be with you, Barrie.
And congratulations. That's one for the history books.
It certainly was, and a lot of credit goes, obviously, to the Prime Minister who led from the front.
Though your part in this goes back, I think, before the budget to January, when you were you were everywhere on the economy when I think everybody else was on the beach.
Look, it was a team effort, and I want to pay credit to Matthias Cormann as well as Finance Minister, who's been there through 6 years. But really, the Prime Minister led from the front. I mean, from the minute the starter's gun was fired in this campaign, we knew we were behind, but we also knew we were in it. And no one knew this better than the Prime Minister, and he crisscrossed the country with great energy, belief and conviction. He was assured, he was confident, he was across the detail, and he sold our economic plan to the Australian people, a plan that resonated with them, and he made the obvious point that this election was not a coronation of Bill Shorten. It was actually a real contest.
You said he had belief. Well, he believes in miracles.
He does. In fact, Barrie, I got a text message from him on Friday night saying exactly that, and it's turned out to be the case. Oh, well, he said he believed in miracles, that he wouldn't stop till he fell over.
That was before the event.
That was on Friday. Yeah, he said he would campaign to the end. He was in and out of Tasmania. He was confident. But what Scott Morrison did so effectively is he spoke to what he has called the quiet Australian, the silent majority. And he spoke and appealed to the aspirations of every Australian, people who want to own their own home, people who want to run a business, people who want to raise a family, people who want to save for their retirement. That was Scott Morrison's message. That was the Liberal and National Party's message.
And maybe when you told people that Labor was introducing a retirees tax, they believed you.
Well, it was true.
No, it's not.
It was a $57 billion.
Explain to me what a retiree tax is.
A retirees tax was a change to the franking credit system.
It's not a tax.
It was a tax because these people had based their retirement on receiving a cash refund in the event that their marginal tax rate was below 30%.
So Labor was proposing to take away a concession. Where's the tax?
The tax was on all those 1 million plus retirees, Barrie, who had done nothing wrong.
Taking away a concession and then you call it a retirees tax. As I understand it, the biggest swing in this came and the biggest demographic that moved was the over 65s. I think you persuaded most people a lot of people over 65 that there really was a retirees tax.
Well, there was a retirees tax, there was a housing tax, there was a superannuation tax,
there
there
was
higher income tax.
You don't see the difference between taking away a benefit and imposing a tax?
Well, the reality is that over 1 million Australians had based their retirement on bipartisan approach to franking credits. It was an accepted principle of our tax system. That doesn't make it a tax.
You see, the point I'm making here is if you call something like that, you take away a concession and that then becomes a tax, it just makes it harder, doesn't it, for governments into the future to do serious tax reform when it's distorted in that way.
Well, Barrie, this was very bad policy because the people who were affected, majority of whom were women, were people who had based their retirement on an existing system, a system that had served Australia very well, a system that the Labor Party had supported. And of the people who were going to be hit by the retirees tax, over 80% of them had a taxable income under $37,000. But the choice was very clear around the tax plans. We were lowering taxes while guaranteeing essential services, infrastructure spending at record levels, creating new apprentices, paying back Labor's debt. And Bill Shorten and Labor were promising $387 billion of higher tax.
All right, now on climate change, and I'm sure you got a message in your electorate, being a Victorian electorate. Julie Bishop has said that that she thinks the party ought to revisit the issue and particularly revisit the NEG, the National Energy Guarantee, which she thought was the closest thing you'd come to bipartisanship, and I'm sure you believe that at one point. What do you think ought to be done?
Well, we've spelt out our climate solutions package before the election, $3.5 billion for a range of important measures, namely Snowy 2.0 to create the big battery on the east coast of Australia, energy efficiency programs, grants to community organisations for solar panels, a land-based system, a scheme based on the emissions reduction fund.
All of that. But don't you get lessons from election campaigns? And when Julie Bishop suggests you revisit the NEG, you don't consider that?
Well, our plan is very clear, and it's the plan that we took to the Australian people. Now, one half of the NEG is the reliability guarantee, and that's becoming a reality, which is really important. But I have to say to you, on climate change, it is real. We take it very seriously. As the Prime Minister made clear, we will meet and beat our 2020 target. There's been a 1 billion tonne turnaround since we've come to government, and we will meet and beat our 2030 target. We accept the science, and we will continue to take action on
But no revisiting the National Energy Guarantee. Because
our policies have been very clearly
let me
set
put
out.
this proposition to you. It just seems to me, because that went through your party room several times, Labor were going to support it. Had you put it to the Parliament, it probably would have been 140 to 10, the 10 being maybe 10 dissidents from your side. You've got a policy that 140 out of 150 in the Parliament support, and it doesn't get up.
Look, we've set out our policy to the Australian people before the election. We will faithfully implement and execute that now after the election. What we are doing is we're reducing emissions, but we're also ensuring that energy prices will come down and that the stability of the system will be reassured. I mean, Bill Shorten got into a lot of trouble during his campaign when he couldn't explain how he would meet his targets, how much it would cost the economy. Our targets are costed, are funded, and we've got the record of meeting and beating our previous targets.
All right, Scott Morrison's place in the Liberal Party now, what would that be?
Well, it's secure as a great leader, as somebody who's led us to an election victory that not many people expected. But he had great faith in what was going to occur. He spoke to the aspirations of the Australian people, and he can take enormous credit for the leadership, for the belief, for the conviction that he has shown.
And what do you do now for the rest of the day?
Well, I'm heading down to a local bowls club because last Friday, Barrie, or on Friday, just a couple of days ago, I was there speaking to the members about the election, and I said if we won the election and if I won my seat, I'd come back and shout the bar. So I think that's an obligation I better keep.
You're the John Singleton of Australian politics.
Well, with a much smaller wallet, I have to tell you. But that's what I'll be doing today, and I'll be thanking all the volunteers because all my colleagues across the country, have had teams of volunteers, people who have faithfully supported us. But today is not about the Liberal Party. It's actually about the Australian people. It was a point that Scott Morrison underlined in his speech last night. I want to pay tribute to Bill Shorten and the Labor Party for the campaign that they ran, but particularly I want to credit Scott Morrison for last night's result.
Thanks for dropping by.
Always good to be with you.